Hello, lovely beings. Today, I am going to tell you my craziest manifestation story. And let me move this a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that might be a little bit better. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so this was not 2 years ago, this was almost 3 years ago, back in 2022. I needed a job. And I wasn't in the best situation. And so I got on Indeed and I applied for a bunch of different jobs and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at the time. And so one of the jobs I had applied for, the way I'm holding this, one of the jobs I had applied for was a leasing agent position. And I didn't think that they would call me back because I had no experience. And so I go on with my life the next day. Like, I'm out and about, I'm on my way back home, and I'm driving past this leasing office. And in that moment, I'm looking at this leasing office, and I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to be a leasing agent. I want to help people find a sense of security. I want to help people find their home. And I definitely needed that help at that time as well, but I just wanted to help. And so I'm with someone, we're talking about it, and this was like not even a minute down the street from where I lived at the time. And so we get home, we get into our room, and this was with my ex. We get into our room and we're still talking about it, and I get a call. And they're like, "Hi, this is the leasing agent position you applied for the other day and the day before, and we want you to come in for an interview." And I'm like, "Perfect." We set up the interview and we hang up, and I look at him and I'm like, "That's interesting." Not even 5 minutes after I got clear and set the intention that that's what I wanted to do, I get this call. And this is just the beginning of the story. So I go in for the interview. The interview goes really well, but they tell me that they have other applicants that they need to interview and that they would get back to me. And so I'm like, okay, perfect. Thank you. And also, before I went into this interview, like before I started this process, when I started this process, I went into it like trying to manifest the perfect job for me. And I hadn't really had many crazy manifestation stories. Like, I did believe in spirituality, but I didn't really know too much about manifestation, how it worked, the energy behind it. And but I just remember before I went into this interview, I was looking at myself in my car mirror, and I just looked at myself in my eyes and I said, just remember to remain confident within yourself and know that no matter what happens, you're always going to be okay. You're always taken care of. And that when one thing doesn't work out, it just means something better is on its way. If this doesn't work out, oh, okay, that's fine. It wasn't for me. Something better must be on the way. That was the mindset I was trying to anchor in throughout this process. So, after the interview, I go home and I keep applying for leasing agent positions, and only leasing agent positions at this point, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so in the time frame between my first and second interview, I had fully decided to focus on my root chakra, which is located at the base of your spine. If you don't know, the color for it is red, and it deals with our sense of safety and security and is blocked by fear. And I was really trying to work on that and build this sense of security and safety within myself. And also, I guess I was also working on my solar plexus chakra, but like I really set the intention to focus on my root chakra because I've heard that it's best to focus on the first chakra, the base chakra, because it's like our foundation. Without the foundation, like building a house, without the foundation, the entire house will crumble. So I decided to focus on that first. And in the time frame between my first and second interview, the landlord that I was living with at the time, she was very spiritual. She would hold spiritual healing ceremonies in the living room of this house, and she was very, very spiritual. I never went to these ceremonies. Well, at this point, I did end up going to some later on, like a couple years later, when I didn't live with her. But, anyways, that's another story for another time. But she was holding a potluck dinner, and me and my ex, we went. And all the food there was red, like beets, kidney beans, watermelon, like good healthy food, good healthy red food that grew from the ground. And I'm like, okay, that's another weird little synchronicity. After I had been making and setting these intentions, I'm seeing it fall into place. I'm like, okay, noted. And guys, like this story, it gets freaking crazy. So just wait. Just wait for the big bang. So yeah, I go to this potluck dinner. I'm like, okay, that's a weird synchronicity. And the next day, I get another interview. And I go in for this interview. And immediately, I didn't get the best vibes from the manager who was interviewing me. And I just knew that it wasn't right for me. So I knew I wasn't going to take this job. But I did the interview anyways. And during the interview, this manager, this lady, ends up telling me that the only colors I could have worn if I were to work there were black, white, gray, and a bright cherry red. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. And I'm gonna set this down now. But in that moment, where we were sitting in the leasing office, there were two big windows on both sides of me, and the apartment buildings were in like a circle surrounding the leasing office. And in that moment when she said that I could only wear black, white, gray, and a bright cherry red, it like felt like a shift, an alignment. And I was like, okay, something's going on here. Something deeper, something on a deeper level is going on here. And so I leave the interview, and like I knew that I wasn't going to get that job. I knew that I didn't want that job, and I knew I wasn't going to get that job. So I'm like starting to get kind of discouraged because I really needed a job at this time. Like I had no money for food. Like I was still taken care of by spirit, but I was stressed out and I needed a job. And so I go home, I get back on Indeed, I'm scrolling through, and I find an ad with someone's number on it. And I'm like, thank you. Finally, someone I can call myself instead of waiting for them to get back to me. And so I call them, they don't answer. We play phone tag for a day or two. We finally get in contact. We set up the interview, and I go in for this interview. And it was like 20 minutes away from where I lived at the time. And the interview went very well, but there was another girl there before me. And so I'm like, oh no, like, is she going to be the one to get the job? So he tells me that he needs to, I didn't say that, but in my mind I was like, oh shit. But, but he tells me that he needs to make a decision and that at the time he was only hiring for one position. Just wait. And that he'd let me know. So I'm like, okay, oh, and that he said that he wanted to keep my information in case another position opened up. I'm like, yes, perfect. Just let me know. And so I go home, and again, like I'm still applying for more jobs as I'm waiting for his response. But A few days go by, I didn't hear from him, so I call him up to follow up with him, and he says that he's still trying to make his decision and that he would let me know. And I said, okay, perfect. Thank you. And so I go on with my life, like, stressed as fuck, but I was fine. Holy shit. This was like a huge, like, a lot of like I was focusing on the chakras throughout this process. I was learning about the chakras. I have heard the word chakra before, but I didn't know exactly what they entailed and what they meant, what they were, oh, what they did. And so I I started watching. My roommate just got home. But anyways, I started watching videos on YouTube about the chakras, and it helped me learn about it. And like throughout this whole process, it like I don't even know how to explain it. It felt like I was going through some like intense kundalini awakening. Like my lower back was like aching, my belly was aching, and it was not a great time for me internally. Like I was safe, but it was internally holy shit. But so he finally, back to the story. He finally calls me up and he says, "Okay, I want to hire you. I need you to go in for a drug test." So I go in for my drug test, and it takes him about a week for him to get my results back. And he told me that usually it takes 2 to 3 days for him to get the results back, but at this time, like the clinic was behind, and so it took them a week. And that's one thing about manifestation is like right before the big breakthrough happens, it feels like things get harder and harder and harder, and then there's a breakthrough. It comes through. And just like when women give birth, it takes them 9 months to form for the fetus, the baby, to form in the womb. And then when they go into labor, they have contractions, and it's like the most excruciating pain that women that anyone will ever feel. Well, maybe not, but it's very painful. And like I'm sure breaking a bone or like getting your freaking arm amputated would might hurt worse. I don't know. I've never done it. I haven't done it yet. I don't know if I will. We'll see. But like the women have contractions, and then this new life is birthed. But you have to go through this process before this new life is birthed. And that's the same thing with manifestation. Like I was saying, right before the manifestation comes through, this new life is formed, it things might feel like they're getting harder and might feel like they're falling out of place. Things are freaking crumbling all around you. But so yeah, he finally gets my results back and he says, "Okay, you're hired. You're going to be working at so and so apartment complex." And I shit you not, it's the exact apartment complex I was driving past when I decided I wanted to be a leasing agent. And I'm like, hold on. Is that on so and so road in so and so city? And he's like, "Yep, that's the one." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, thank you." We hang up the phone, and I'm just like, mind blown. Like, what just happened? How this all came into place. I'm just like, what? Crazy. But that's not all. That's not all. I go in my first day, and the property manager, she seemed so familiar, like I had met her before. And me and her, throughout me working there, we had a very good and strong connection and bond. And then she shows me the different sister properties that the company owns, and I see that one of the properties that the company owns is right across the street from the elementary school that I went to when I very first moved in with my aunt and uncle when I was 11 years old. And I had friends who lived there, and I would go and play and hang out with them. I'm like, okay, interesting. Like, and then I see another property is the exact apartment complex that I moved into when I very first moved out of my aunt and uncle's house. And I'm just like, oh, what is going on? I was just freaking mind blown. Like, what is going on right now? And it just felt like this huge, like, full circle moment. And we're continuously coming back to past things and realizing deeper truths to them. And it felt like one of those like huge significant moments in my life where I had to go back to past situations and like see some deeper truth to it. And I'm continuously doing that. There's many layers, but it was just so interesting to me. And another thing, when I left this job, I ended up working at the apartment complex across the street from the elementary school that I went to when I first moved in with my aunt and uncle. And then I was also working at the property that I first moved into when I first moved out of my aunt and uncle's house. And I was also focusing on my root chakra and like really trying to build this sense of like safety and security. Because let's be real here, childhood trauma did not give me that. And I really needed that. But it just was like, oh, it was like so surreal and just, oh, I don't even know how to like fully put it into words. Like, this is the best I can put it into words, but it was like intense and crazy to me. And yeah, there you go. That is my craziest manifestation story. I have other like freaking crazy like spiritual experiences, but this is like my most craziest manifestation story. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, how could you not? And yeah, like I want to know your craziest manifestation story. Something crazy. Comment below something crazy that has happened to you in your life, specific to manifestation. I would love to hear your experience. So, let me know. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.